I mentioned earlier, this is my absolute favorite trend. And the reason why this is my absolute favorite trend is because consultants and corporates, my clients, love to talk about foreign versus Chinese brands. And they ask so many questions around where Chinese like foreign or like foreign or Chinese brand. So let me start with that chart. Olay, largest cosmetics brand in the world, owned by Procter & Gamble, largest FMCG company in the world. 44% of the Chinese believe that Olay is a Chinese brand. So much about brand preferences. Biore from Japan, Yakult is somewhere here. 48% of the Chinese believe that Yakult is a Chinese product. 45% believe that Danone is a Chinese product, it's a Chinese brand. Midas Bonvi, which actually is Chinese, 45% believe it's foreign. So I did not pick those because those are the ones supporting the story. It's just the case that people don't know the difference between what is a foreign and what is a Chinese brand. And so much around the whole question around what about the brand preferences. What is correct is brand preference or preference for Chinese brands is increasing. Market shares of Chinese brand is increasing. Is that because of, or is that influencing anything on this page? No, because if I prefer Chinese brands, I actually may now buy more Olay, the great basically Chinese brand. Or actually I really, really like Japanese brands. So why don't I buy, or like, yeah, I'm not going to buy Yakult, right? Because that's a Chinese brand. So I'm going to buy something else which actually maybe perceived as Japanese. But one thing though is this page is actually not totally different in many countries in the world. So it's not that this is a China phenomenon. We're saying, oh, the Chinese, they don't know, we educate them. US also people don't really know what's American, what's not American. So Germans don't know what's German, not German. Except for maybe the cars, but outside the cars. Chinese also knows the car, by the way. The car is not on that page. But if you talk about the traditional FMCG company, you were surprised. We didn't have it, unfortunately, in this survey, but we had it before. Coca-Cola, Budweiser, it's all Chinese.
There's probably some categories where it makes sense for you as a brand, right? To play to that, but
yes.
others aren't.
This actually brings me to the next page, because where does it still make a difference? Because as long as the products are made in China, doesn't make any difference because people can't differentiate. They just buy the best product. So why are Chinese brands gaining market share? Not because of nationalism and Chinese like Chinese things and they're anti-American or any of that. It's totally wrong. They buy Chinese brands because they have a better product at a better price. It's very easy. It's very easy. That's why they're gaining market share. Because the products today are better. If you look at the products in the market, the Chinese products are extremely good. And many of the foreign companies have the problem that they took their products 20 years ago, 15 years ago to China, de-spec them, make them cheap, so it's a cheap shampoo now. And now basically they're stuck with their cheap shampoo, but the brand is affiliated with that price point. They can't just say, okay, now we put a better shampoo in with the same brand and put it up. Not working, so you need a different brand. And then the global foreign companies are thinking, well, we don't have a brand because our premium product we de-spec'd for China and put it cheap in the market. So now you can't just say, okay, forget about the past, we do it new now. So the foreign companies have a dilemma there. It's a real dilemma they're facing because they traded down their global mega brands and now they can't get them up. Now the Chinese come around the corner basically saying, let me do a really good product and put it in the market and then they sell. In some categories, Chinese are basically driving the premiumization. It's fantastic to see that. Not in the luxury segment, that's a different thing. But if you talk about basically the whole the whole spectrum of consumption, there's a lot of that. But the next page is showing actually where it does matter, because there are some categories it does matter. And because the Chinese may not know what is foreign versus what is Chinese, they do know though what is made in China or made somewhere else in the world. And this is what you see. This is actually preference. And as I said, in a way we can ignore it, because while people basically say they prefer Chinese beer very strongly, that's actually one of the few categories where Chinese brands has significantly lost market share. So one of the highest category here is one of the only categories where foreign companies have been winning. So that just shows again that people don't know what it is. What people do know where it's made, and if you see where people prefer basically foreign brands, it's import categories. Infant milk formula, because of safety, people buy it because they don't trust if it's made in China. Wine, well, people prefer French or wine is imported, and also color cosmetics. Color cosmetics is an interesting one, by the way. It shows up here with a strong preference. If you look at the whole cosmetics segment, Chinese brands are actually gaining market share, although apparently the preference is for foreign brands. Where foreign brands actually do well, and that's why the number here looks so good, is because the prestige segment, which is all imported, is a fully foreign segment. And the entry barrier for the Chinese brand, actually the products are very good. The Chinese cosmetics products are exceptional. But we kind of have a Chinese company importing something from outside of China. Would at least be a bit weird if a Chinese company is basically opens a plant in France. But maybe we even see that. Let's see. And acquisitions to some degree will do that.